Hospitals smell like bleach and heartbreak. That sterile, metallic tang that sticks to your throat long after you leave. I never thought I'd be the woman standing under flickering ICU lights, watching the man I built a whole life with drift toward the edge. My husband, Ethan Calloway, used to be the guy who could walk into any room and own it. Charismatic, rich, ruthless. The kind of man people whispered about, but followed anyway. And now? He was a shadow behind glass, tubes and machines doing the breathing he used to control so easily. "You should say your goodbyes," the nurse said gently, her voice the kind people use when they've already written you off. I stepped closer, pressing my palm to the glass. "Hey, baby," I whispered, my voice cracking. "If this is really it, just know I never stopped loving you, even when I should have." His chest barely rose. The monitor beeped slow and steady, like it was counting down something I couldn't stop. I kissed my wedding ring, pressed it against the glass, and whispered, "Goodbye, Ethan." And then I turned and walked out, heels clicking, head high, pretending I wasn't breaking inside. That's what Callaways do. We perform. Outside, the California air hit cold against my tears. I lit a cigarette, something I hadn't done in years, and leaned against the marble column of the hospital's private wing. Around me, people walked past. Doctors, visitors, Uber drivers, but everything felt muffled, like I was underwater. I was about to toss the cigarette when I heard it. Two nurses talking near the fountain. "He's stable," one whispered, "but it's crazy. She still doesn't know." The other laughed softly. "Yeah, Dr. Grayson said keep it that way. The records are sealed." My blood froze. She still doesn't know? I shouldn't have cared. I should have kept walking, but I didn't. I stepped behind the fountain, pretending to check my phone, listening harder. "You mean about the other guy?" "Mm-hmm. The donor match. The resemblance is freaky, right? Yeah, like twins or something." My heart started hammering. Twins? Donor? Resemblance? My head was spinning. Ethan was an only child, or so he'd always claimed, and donor could mean anything, right? But the way they said it, it felt wrong, familiar, dangerous. I started walking toward them, ready to demand answers, when I caught sight of someone across the courtyard. A man. Tall, dark hair, same cut as Ethan's. Same way of standing, hands in pockets, chin tilted like he owned the air around him. For half a second, my knees gave out. "Ethan?" I whispered. He turned slightly, and my whole world tilted. It wasn't him. Not exactly. But God, it could have been. He noticed me staring, gave a polite nod, and walked toward the elevators. I followed him, my heart in my throat. "Excuse me," I called, my voice echoing against the walls. He turned, and when he did, I swear time stopped. Same blue-gray eyes, same scar above his left brow, the one Ethan got from a skiing accident in Aspen years ago. "Do I know you?" he asked, his voice deeper, rougher, but eerily similar. "Someone I—" My throat closed. "Someone I lost." He smiled, a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. I get that a lot. Then he turned and disappeared into the elevator. I stood there shaking. Everything in me screamed, no. I ran back to the nurse's station, slamming my hands on the counter. "I need to see my husband's doctor, right now." The receptionist blinked. "Mrs. Calloway, Dr. Grayson isn't available." "Make him available." My voice came out sharper than I expected, but grief makes you reckless. Minutes later, Dr. Grayson appeared. Mid-40s, salt and pepper hair, calm voice. "Vanessa," he said gently, "I thought you'd gone home." "What did your nurses mean about a donor? About someone who looks like my husband?" His eyes flickered just for a second, but I caught it. "It's complicated," he said. "We're running every option to save Ethan." There was a last-minute donor consideration, but it didn't... Donor? Like organ donor? Something like that. And this donor, he looks like Ethan? Silence. I stepped closer. Who is he? You should focus on saying goodbye, he said quietly. Some things are better left. Don't you dare finish that sentence. I turned on my heel and walked out. I wasn't done, not even close. I spent the next hour pacing the hospital garden, replaying every word, every look. That stranger's face haunted me. What if Ethan had family I didn't know about? What if something bigger was happening behind those glass ICU doors? My phone buzzed. Harper, my sister-in-law, Ethan's only surviving relative. "How's he doing?" she asked, her tone dripping with false sympathy. "Still fighting," I said flatly. "You sound surprised." "Some people don't know when to let go." I gritted my teeth. What's that supposed to mean? Just that maybe it's better this way. For everyone. And then she hung up. I stared at my reflection in the dark hospital window, my designer coat, my smeared lipstick, my haunted eyes. The Callaway empire looked glamorous from the outside, luxury cars, penthouses, charity galas, but underneath, it was rotting. Lies, affairs, money laundering whispers, even rumors Ethan had an illegitimate child somewhere. And now this. I wasn't sure what scared me more, that my husband was dying, or that he wasn't the man I thought I'd married. I went back inside, straight to the ICU wing. Ethan was still there, motionless. I sat beside him, my hand on the glass. Who are you really? And who the hell was that man outside? The monitor beeped steadily, like it was mocking me. I pressed my forehead against the glass and let out a shaky breath. Then, just as I was about to leave, Ethan's fingers twitched. I froze. Ethan? Nothing. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I was losing it. But something inside me said, don't walk away this time. I stayed there, waiting, heart pounding, until a nurse came in. "Mrs. Callaway, visiting hours are over." He moved. His hand. She glanced at the monitor. Reflex. It happens. But her eyes darted away too fast. I wasn't imagining things. Something was off. I left the hospital that night with a knot in my stomach and a fire in my chest. I didn't know what was real anymore, but I knew one thing. I wasn't done saying goodbye. Because maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe it was the start of something much darker, something I was never meant to uncover. And whoever that man was, I was going to find him. Because the moment I saw that stranger's face, I realized something gut deep. My husband wasn't dying. He was hiding.
The next morning, the city looked fake, like someone had repainted Beverly Hills overnight. Too clean, too bright, too damned polished. I sat in my car outside Callaway Tower, sipping a triple espresso like it could erase the nightmare from last night. It didn't. I had spent half the night scrolling through Ethan's encrypted emails, the ones he thought I didn't know about. When your husband runs a multi-million-dollar private foundation, you learn to snoop. That's what being a Callaway wife teaches you. Smile for the cameras, bleed in private. The only thing that stood out was a name. DG. There were transfers, meetings, encrypted attachments, all labeled Project Lazarus. The kind of name that sounds like it belongs in a thriller, not your real life. But maybe that's what my marriage had become. A high-budget lie. I took the elevator straight to Ethan's office on the top floor. The place still smelled like his cologne, that stupid expensive one he wore even to sleep sometimes. His assistant, Margot, looked startled to see me. "Mrs. Callaway, I didn't know you'd be in today." "Yeah, well, surprise," I said, brushing past her. "I just need to grab something." I shut the office door behind me and locked it. The silence in there was heavy. His laptop was gone, but the safe behind the painting, still there. I entered the passcode, our anniversary date, 0507. Click. Inside were 2 passports, 1 checkbook, and a flash drive. Both passports had Ethan's face, but different names. One said Ethan Callaway, the other said Dylan Grayson. My heart stopped. "You've got to be kidding me," I whispered. DG. The initials from his emails. Dr. Grayson. The doctor from last night. It hit me like a gut punch. My husband wasn't dying from some rare disease. He was faking it, with the help of his own damn doctor. I sat down hard, the room spinning. The flash drive burned in my hand like it was radioactive. I plugged it into the computer and waited. A folder popped up. /Lazarus. Inside were videos, medical documents, offshore transfers, everything. And one video file labeled Test Subject 1A Mirror Protocol. I clicked it. Ethan's face filled the screen. If you're watching this, then I guess you found out. His tone was calm, almost smug. Vanessa, I didn't mean for you to see this, but you've always been too damn curious for your own good. My stomach twisted. Project Lazarus isn't about death, it's about duplication, genetic mirroring. Call it science, call it madness, but it's my ticket out. The Calloway name is poison now, thanks to people like Harper. I had to disappear. The body in that ICU bed, it's not me, it's the mirror. The screen went black. I stared, jaw slack, every neuron in my brain screaming, what the actual hell? He cloned himself or replaced himself? No, this wasn't sci-fi. It was something darker, something real. I opened the next file, a list of names, donors, recipients, payments. There it was again. Grayson, Dylan, my husband's doctor. He didn't just help him fake it. He was the fake. I slammed the laptop shut and stood up, adrenaline pounding. I needed to see Dr. Grayson, if that was even his real name. Margot knocked on the door. Mrs. Calloway? Are you okay? Peachy, I said, shoving the flash drive in my coat pocket. Hey, Margot, did you ever meet Dr. Grayson? She blinked. I think once. He and Mr. Calloway looked related. Honestly, it was kind of creepy. Yeah, creepy's the word. I drove straight back to the hospital, heart hammering like a damn drum line. When I got there, Ethan's ICU room was empty. The nurse looked up. Oh, Mrs. Calloway, you didn't get the message? What message? Mr. Calloway's been transferred. Transferred where? Confidential. His doctor handled it personally. Dr. Grayson? Yes, ma'am. My vision blurred. You're telling me the guy who looks exactly like my husband took my husband out of the hospital and no one thought that was sketchy? She looked uncomfortable. He had clearance. Of course he did. Ethan always planned 10 steps ahead. I stormed toward the admin desk. Pull the records, now. The clerk hesitated. I leaned in. You pull them, or I call the board and tell them their staff just let a patient vanish under false ID.
Which headline do you want? 2 minutes later, I had the transfer destination, St. Renard Clinic, a research facility up in Big Stir. Private, isolated, expensive, perfect for disappearing rich men. I got back in my car, slammed the door, and screamed until my throat hurt. I wasn't sure who I was angrier at, Ethan, the doctor, or myself for still caring. Then I wiped my eyes, started the car, and headed north. The drive to Big Sur was a blur of ocean, cliffs, and expensive regret. By the time I reached St. Renard Clinic, the sun was bleeding out behind the mountains. The place looked like a damn spa. White walls, glass facades, lavender gardens. I walked up to the reception desk, heels clicking like gunshots. I'm here for Dr. Dylan Grayson, I said, flashing my husband's old company badge. Calloway Foundation. He's expecting me. The receptionist smiled too easily. Of course. One moment, Miss Calloway. She buzzed someone. 30 seconds later, a man in scrubs appeared. Dr. Grayson is unavailable right now, but I can escort you to his office. I'll wait, I said. It's private business. I'm afraid either I wait or I call the feds about an unauthorized patient transfer. Your choice. He swallowed and stepped aside. This way, ma'am. His office was sleek, minimalist, too damn clean. But there were photos on the desk. Ethan and Dylan, side by side, identical smiles. My chest went cold. One photo had a third person in it. Harper, my sister-in-law. I picked it up, hand trembling. Harper, the same woman who told me to let Ethan go. The same woman who'd always hated me. She wasn't mourning him. She was in on it. "Looking for something?" a voice said behind me. I turned. Dr. Grayson stood in the doorway. Same eyes, same scar, same everything except colder. "You've got some nerve," I said. He smirked. "You were always the curious one." "Where's my husband?" "Depends on which one you mean." "Don't play games with me, you knockoff son of a—" "Careful," he interrupted, stepping closer. "We're not so different, you and me. You married a lie, and I became one." I stared at him. "You're his clone?" He laughed. "God, that's such a cinematic word. Let's say genetic insurance policy." "Why? What's the end game?" "Freedom," he said simply. Ethan wanted to start over. The Callaway brand was burning down. Between the fraud investigations, the offshore funds, and Harper breathing down his neck, he needed an out. I gave him one. "Where is he?" "Gone." "Gone where?" "Doesn't matter. He's not coming back. But you, Vanessa, you might want to stop digging before you end up like him." "Like him?" He smiled darkly. "Dead." He brushed past me and left the office. I stood there shaking, every nerve screaming, "Run!" But another voice said, "Stay." I wasn't done. Not until I knew everything. I searched the desk, rifled through drawers until I found a folder labeled Callaway Phase 2. Inside were blueprints for the clinic, genetic data charts, and one photo of me. My stomach flipped. On the back, in Ethan's handwriting, "She knows too much." I dropped it like a bird. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. "Stop snooping. You're next." Then the line died. I backed out of the office, heart racing. Someone was watching me. I could feel it. The hair on my neck prickled. I bolted to my car, hands shaking as I unlocked the door. That's when I saw it. A black SUV parked across the road, engine running, headlights off. A silhouette inside, watching. I didn't stick around to find out who. I peeled out of that lot so fast the tires screamed. Halfway down the coast, I pulled over and threw up. Then I sat there, shaking, staring at my reflection in the rearview mirror. My mascara was smudged, my hair a mess, but the fire in my eyes, that was new. If Ethan thought he could erase me, he picked the wrong damn woman. I took out my phone and opened the flash drive files again. This time, I noticed a time-stamped location ping somewhere in Napa Valley, 2 days after his supposed collapse. A vineyard. Our vineyard. He'd hidden there before. I started the engine. "All right, Ethan," I whispered. "Let's finish this game." The night swallowed the road ahead, and for the first time in a long time, I felt alive. Grief was gone. Now it was war. Because if my husband wanted to play dead, I'd make sure he wished he'd stayed that way.
Napa always looked too perfect. Rolling vines, soft gold light, the kind of silence that rich people buy when they run out of peace. Driving through the valley, I kept one hand on the wheel and the other on my nerves. The Callaway Vineyard had been Ethan's crown jewel, the place he'd retreat to when he needed to strategize. Translation, lie in style. The gate recognized my license plate and slid open, slow and silent, like it knew I shouldn't be here. The house sat on the hill, modern glass and stone, every line screaming money. I parked by the fountain and stepped out, heels crunching on the gravel. For a minute, everything looked dead still. Then I noticed it. 2 glasses of wine on the terrace, fresh. My chest tightened. Someone was here. "Ethan?" My voice cracked through the quiet. No answer. I walked inside. The air smelled like oak and memory. My reflections stared back from the glass wall, all sharp edges and exhaustion. I should have been scared, but curiosity has always been my worst habit. The living room looked untouched, except for the piano, one key pressed down, held by a folding note.
I walked over, pulse drumming. Stop chasing ghosts. His handwriting. My throat went dry. You son of a... I whispered. He was taunting me. I poured myself a drink because if I was going to hunt my maybe-dead husband, I'd do it with Cabernet. I wandered upstairs checking rooms, every one spotless, except his study. There, I found what I was looking for. A burner phone, a half-burned letter, and a framed photo turned face down. I flipped it. Ethan, Harper, and Dr. Grayson. 3 of them laughing at a gala I never attended. Behind the frame, a key card, stamped VLab West. Whatever that was, it wasn't wine-related. I pocketed it. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I answered before thinking. Vanessa, a voice said, low and confident. Ethan. I froze. You're supposed to be dead. Guess I'm bad at following orders. Where are you? Somewhere safer than you think. You lied to me, Ethan, about everything. You're talking like you didn't know. You always knew what I was, V. You just like the view from the penthouse. Cut the philosophy crap. What's Project Lazarus? He chuckled. Insurance for people who can afford not to die. You replaced yourself? I replicated what I needed to escape the rest. And Harper, is she your little side project too? Silence. Then softly, she understands survival. The line clicked dead. I stared at the screen until my hand started shaking. Survival. That was Ethan's code word for betrayal. The last time he said it, he sold a company out from under our partners and blamed it on me. I threw the phone onto the couch, pacing. I needed help, but not from anyone tied to the Calloway name. I called Brody Lake, an old friend from before the money. He answered on the 3rd ring. V, holy hell, haven't heard from you since Palm Springs 2018. You alive? Barely. You still do cybersecurity gigs? Depends who's asking. Someone who's about to burn down a billionaire. That sounds like my kind of fun. Within an hour, Brody pulled up in a beat-up Jeep. Hoodie on, grin wide. Nice house, he said, looking around. Too quiet, though. Makes me itch. Help me find where Ethan is hiding. I handed him the flash drive. He whistled low. Whistle! If half this data's real, your husband's not just rich, he's running God's side hustle. Can you track the keycard? Already on it. He typed for a while, then leaned back. VLab West. It's not a wine storage. It's a neuroscience lab. Private. Funded through a shell corp registered in Harper Calloway's name. My stomach twisted. She's bankrolling him. Looks that way. Can you get me in? Maybe. But you realize if they catch you snooping, it's game over. I'm already living the sequel. He grinned. Damn, you always were dramatic. We planned fast. Disguises, routes, cover stories. By midnight, we drove to the facility, a sleek glass complex tucked behind acres of vines. Security was light. Rich people never expect trouble on their own land. Inside, the halls smelled like antiseptic and money. Brody hacked a door panel while I kept watch. When it clicked open, we stepped into what looked like a lab from a sci-fi film. Except this wasn't fiction. Cryopods, biometric scanners, blood work charts with Ethan's name. I grabbed one file. Subject Calloway, Phase 3, Memory Transposition. Brody read over my shoulder. Memory? What now? He's trying to move consciousness, upload his mind into someone else. That's illegal as hell. Since when did Ethan care about legal? Suddenly, a light flicked on. Put the file down. Harper's voice. I turned. She stood by the doorway in a white coat, calm as a saint, eyes cold. What the hell is this, Harper? I asked. Family reunion? You were supposed to stay out of it, she said. Ethan trusted me. He lied to me. He lied to everyone, Vanessa, including me. But unlike you, I don't crumble when someone breaks my heart. You knew about the clone? It's not a clone. It's a vessel. He was going to transfer into it, start fresh. You were the variable we couldn't control. Meaning? Meaning you love too loud. You ask too many questions. You make messes. She sighed. You always wear the pretty face, not the plan. Brody stepped forward. Lady, you might want to chill with the villain monologue. She raised a hand, alarms blared. Get out, she shouted over the noise. Brody grabbed my arm. We ran, sprinting through corridors until we burst out into the vineyards. Security lights flared behind us. We dove into the Jeep and tore off down the dirt road. You realize she's going to hunt you now, right? Brody panted. She already did, I said, glancing in the mirror. A drone hovered behind us, red light blinking. Brody swerved into the tree line. The drone crashed somewhere in the vineyards. What's next? He asked. I stared ahead, adrenaline buzzing. We leak it. Everything. The files, the project, Harper's involvement. That'll nuke the Calloway name. Good. Let it burn. Back at the house, Brody set up the upload to a secure drop. It'll take a few hours, he said. I poured another glass of wine and tried to breathe. My phone buzzed again. Video call. Ethan. I answered. His face appeared, smiling, alive, somewhere tropical. You just couldn't leave it alone, could you? You built your whole world on secrets, I snapped. I'm just finally seeing the price tag. Be careful, V. Harper's not your enemy. She just tried to have me killed. She's protecting something bigger than you can imagine. Like what? Immortality? Like legacy. You always did love playing God. He smiled sadly. And you always did love trying to save me. The call ended. The upload finished. Brody nodded. It's live. Once the outlets pick it up, there's no putting this toothpaste back in the tube. I exhaled slowly. Then, let him choke on it. I thought it was over, but when I turned to pour another drink, there it was on the counter, a fresh glass of wine, poured, waiting. My blood ran cold. Brody, did you? He frowned. No, why? The glass shimmered under the light. A note beside it. Round 2 starts tomorrow. Ethan's handwriting. My hand shook as I picked it up. He wasn't running anymore. He was playing. And I'd joined the next level. Because in the Calloway world, the dead don't rest, they rebrand. You ever realized how quiet revenge can sound? Not loud, not messy, just calm, deliberate, like the click of a lighter before the fire. That's where I was now. The morning after the note, I sat in Ethan's office at the vineyard, blinds drawn, a cup of coffee going cold beside me. Brody snored on the couch, laptop still glowing. My brain refused to shut down. Ethan was alive, Harper was complicit, and the world thought the Calloway empire was untouchable. Not anymore. I pulled up the files again, scanning lines of data, trying to find something, anything, that tied me into this mess beyond being the grieving wife. Then I saw it. Project Lazarus, Subject 02, Vanessa Calloway. My name. My blood froze. Under test parameters, it listed dates that matched my fertility treatments years ago, the ones Ethan insisted we try when I couldn't conceive. He hadn't been trying to make a baby. He'd been collecting my DNA. My chest tightened. He'd used me. I slammed the laptop shut just as Brody stirred. Damn, V, you look like you saw a ghost. Close enough. I told him what I found. His jaw clenched. He's cloning you? Something like that. Probably wanted a backup wife to match his backup self. That's sick on a sci-fi level. I nodded. And I'm done being his prototype. I stood, grabbed my coat. We're taking this public. Brody raised an eyebrow. You sure? Once it's out, it's out. No walking it back. Good, I said. Let him choke on the truth. We drove to the city, to an old contact of Brody's, a journalist named Mara Finn who ran an independent media outlet too scrappy to bribe and too smart to scare. She met us in a downtown cafe, sunglasses on, latte in hand. Brody Lake, she said, smirking. Last time I saw you, you were hacking a senator's Wi-Fi. Allegedly, he said. This is Vanessa Calloway. Her brows shot up. As in, Ethan Calloway's widow? Ex-widow, I muttered. He's alive, and worse than ever. "Start talking," she said, recorder on. I told her everything. The fake death, the lab, the files, the clone talk. By the time I finished, her latte was untouched, her lips pressed tight. "That's insane," she said finally. "But if even half of what you're saying is true, it's explosive." "It's real," Brody said, sliding the flash drive. "We just need the story out before they bury it." Mara nodded. "Give me 24 hours. I'll verify what I can, but you'd better watch your backs. Calloway still got friends with badges." We left the cafe, tension hanging thick. Brody glanced around the parking lot. "We're being watched," he murmured. I followed his gaze. A black Escalade parked too cleanly across the street. Windows tinted, engine running. "Keep walking," I whispered. We got into his Jeep and pulled out, making 3 random turns before heading for the bridge. "They're chailing," Brody muttered. "Of course they are," I said. Ethan always did love his surveillance toys. He took an exit toward the marina. "We'll switch cars at the docks. I've got a guy who owes me." 15 minutes later, we were in a beat-up Subaru heading north. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I didn't answer. "You're going to keep running forever?" Brody asked. "Not running, just regrouping." "Where?" "Somewhere Ethan never looked twice at. My mother's old cabin in Tahoe." He whistled. "Back to the woods, huh? From penthouse to pine trees." "Better than a coffin," I muttered. The drive up was long, winding, beautiful in a way that made my stomach ache. I hadn't been here in 10 years, not since before Ethan and the Empire and all the glossy lies. When we arrived, the cabin smelled like cedar and memories.
Dust motes floated in the morning light. I felt human for the first time in weeks. Brody set up the security gear while I lit the fireplace. "So what's the play now?" he asked. "We wait for Mara to publish," I said. "Then we see how the world reacts when their golden boy becomes Frankenstein. And if she doesn't publish?" I stared at the fire. "Then we do it ourselves." That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the cabin sounded like footsteps, every gust of wind like someone whispering my name. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed again, this time a text. "Nice hideout. Did you think I wouldn't remember Tahoe?" Attached, a photo of the cabin from outside. My stomach dropped. "Brody." He jolted awake. I showed him the screen. He found us. Brody grabbed his gun and moved to the window, scanning the tree line. "There," he whispered. A faint red dot blinked in the woods. A drone. "Stay low." He slipped outside quietly while I grabbed the flash drive and stuffed it into my boot. Minutes stretched. Then a soft thud, followed by Brody's voice shouting, "Got it!" He came back in, holding the wrecked drone. "Bastard was watching through thermal." "Can you trace it?" "Already on it." He plugged it into his laptop, fingers flying. "Okay, it's pinging off a private network registered to, what the hell? Calloway Trust West Division." "Meaning?" "Meaning Harper." I clenched my jaw. Then she's the one who sent it. Looks like she's running defense while Ethan plays ghost. "Fine, then we split them. Take her down first." Brody glanced at me. "You sure you're ready to go head to head?" "I was born ready," I said. But inside, I wasn't. I was scared of how easily I could still feel something when Ethan's name came up, of how twisted love could get when money rewired morality. By dawn, Mara's article dropped. Headline, "Project Lazarus. Billionaire's Secret Life Experiments Exposed." The story went viral within hours. News vans swarmed Calloway Vineyard, reporters shouting questions at Harper as she left in a convoy of SUVs. Social media blew up. Ethan's accounts were frozen, sponsors backed out, the empire cracked. I watched from the cabin, satisfaction curling in my chest. "We did it," Brody said. "We lit the fuse." I nodded. Now we watch it burn. But then another notification popped up. An anonymous upload titled, "Vanessa Calloway, The Real Experiment." I clicked it. Video footage of me in a hospital room years ago, unconscious. Doctors surrounding me. Ethan's voice narrating, Subject 02 shows full compatibility. My stomach turned. He leaked this. He's framing me. Brody looked grim. He's trying to flip the story, make you the monster. I slammed the laptop shut. Then it's time to remind the world who's really pulling the strings. Because when the truth goes viral, the next lie has to kill. By the time the sun came up, my name was trending for all the wrong reasons. Project Lazarus, billionaire's wife or biotech accomplice, flashed across every news ticker. They called me a liar, a fraud, a woman who sold her husband's genius for fame. Ethan didn't just come back from the dead, he came back with a PR strategy. "We need to hit back," Brody said, pacing. "He's controlling the narrative." "Then we rewrite it," I said, scrolling through the chaos. The comments burned. "She's milking his death. Probably faked it for the money. Typical gold digger." It was like watching strangers dissect my life for sport. "I want to ruin him from the inside," I whispered. "Not just his empire, his ego." "You sound like him," Bertie muttered. "Good. Let's see how he likes his own tactics." I started with Harper. She was the weak link. Too vain, too careful to let anyone see her crack. I knew where she'd go when cornered. The Callaway penthouse. I changed clothes, threw on a cap, and told Brody to stay back. "If I'm not back in 2 hours, blow everything." "You sure about this solo act?" "He won't expect me to walk through the front door." Downtown LA shimmered under the morning haze as I pulled up in a borrowed car. Security tried to stop me, but money talks louder than logic. A fat tip and a borrowed name got me into the elevator. When the doors opened to the penthouse, I felt the air change. Cold, metallic, full of old ghosts. Harper was there, sitting by the window, hair immaculate, glass of whiskey in hand. "I figured you'd show up. You always did crave the spotlight." "Cute," I said, stepping closer. "How's your little empire holding up?" "Takes more than a scandal to kill a Callaway." "You sure? Because from where I'm standing, you look like a headline waiting to happen." She finally turned, eyes sharp. "You really think the world will believe you over him?" "I don't need them to. I just need you to." She frowned. "What do you want, Vanessa?" "Simple. I want Ethan, and I want him gone." She laughed softly. "You think I haven't tried? He's untouchable. You don't kill a ghost." "Maybe not, but you can haunt him right back." I dropped a folder onto the table. Copies of lab files, bank transfers, and one photo she'd never seen. Ethan and another woman, pregnant, standing on a yacht. Harper's hand trembled. "Who is she?" "His next version of perfect. He called her Phase 4. Her eyes flared. "He said that I was the only one who understood him." "He says that to everyone. It's his favorite con." I leaned in. "Help me finish this. We burn him together." She started the photo for a long time, then finally said, "You get me proof, I'll help you." "Done." I turned to leave. "Vanessa," she said softly. I looked back. "If he finds out we're working together, he won't just ruin us. He'll erase us. Then we make sure he doesn't get the chance." Back at the cabin, Brody was already tracking Ethan's latest activity. "He's in Mexico," he said, eyes glued to the screen. "Some private resort under an alias, Elias Varn." "Typical," I mothered. "Even his fake name sounds rich." "You sure you want to go there?" "I don't have a choice." I called Harper. I said, "Pack a bag. We're going south." "You're insane," she said. "Welcome to the club." 2 days later, we landed in Cabo under fake IDs. The resort screamed excess. Glass pools, champagne service, staff trained to pretend they don't see things. Harper wore sunglasses and nerves. "How do you plan to get close?" she whispered. "Simple. I'll make him come to me." That night, I showed up at the bar wearing the same dress I wore the night we met. Black silk, red lipstick. A ghost he couldn't resist. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, he appeared like a mirage, tan, confident, very much alive. His eyes found me instantly. "Vanessa," he said, voice like velvet and venom. "You look resurrected."
Guess I learned from the best. He smirked. So this is what, an ambush? A reunion? A reality check, I said, sipping my drink. You framed me. I clarified the narrative. You ruined my name. You ruined my trust. You faked your death. Semantics. He leaned closer, the smell of salt and whiskey heavy between us. You don't hate me, V. You miss me. I miss who I thought you were, I said. Turns out that guy doesn't exist. He chuckled. Oh, he exists. You just helped build him. What do you mean? You think Project Lazarus was about me? It was about us. Bullshit. You really don't remember, do you? His gaze darkened. You signed off on it years ago. The fertility trials, the blood samples. You were there, Vanessa. You approved it. You're lying. Check your files, he said. You'll see your signature on every authorization form. He stood, brushing invisible bust from his sleeve. You were never my victim, V. You were my partner. And partners share the blame. He walked away, leaving my stomach twisted into knots. Harper appeared from the shadows, face pale. Is it true? She asked. Did you help him? I don't remember. Maybe you didn't want to. Her words stung. Back in the suite, I tore through digital archives searching for any trace of my signature. And there it was, my name, my approval, on a document authorizing human subject transfer protocol. My hand shook. No, I whispered. Brody called. V, we got a problem. Someone leaked your medical records. It's everywhere. Headlines say you volunteered for the experiment. He's rewriting history. And it's working. I stared at my reflection. Same face, same eyes, but I barely recognized the woman staring back. Maybe Ethan was right. Maybe I'd been complicit all along, too blinded by love and luxury to see the truth. Harper asked, You okay? No, I said honestly, but I'm not done yet. I called Myra. I need a follow-up piece, I said. I'm giving you full access, emails, recordings, everything. Publish the real timeline. Don't hold back. That could blow back on you. Let it. You're sure? I've never been sure. The next morning, the article hit. Vanessa Calloway breaks silence. The truth about Project Lazarus. It told everything. How Ethan manipulated data, forged consents, used my treatments as cover. The internet split in two. Half believed him, half believed me. But for the first time, the narrative wasn't his alone. Harper and I watched it unfold from the hotel balcony. You know this ends badly, right? For him. Yeah, she smirked. You really are his match. No, I said. I'm his consequence. Down below, chaos brewed. Paparazzi, investors, lawsuits. The Callaway brand was collapsing in real time. Ethan's empire was smoke and headlines. But I knew him. He wouldn't go quietly. That night, a single message arrived on my phone. Meet me where it started. One last deal. Attached, a pin. The Vineyard. I stared at it, heart pounding. Harper looked over. You're not actually going, are you? I am. It ends where it began. Because some goodbyes don't end in graves. They end in detonations. You ever walk into the place where everything started and feel it like a bruise? That's how the Vineyard hit me. Sweet air, faint rot, the ghost of a life that was supposed to keep me safe. The stone driveway felt colder than I remembered. The fountain still burbled like a smug little secret. I pulled up late afternoon, sun low, shadows long, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Harper sat beside me in the driver's seat, sunglasses on, armor on. She had agreed to be my partner in this because she knew the calculus. Either we took Ethan down right, or he took us both apart like toys. You really sure about this? She asked, voice flat. I've never been more sure of anything, I said. This ends tonight, one way or another. We walked the same path we used to stroll on anniversary nights, except there was no music, only the whisper of the vines. The house looked the same from the outside. Glass facade, tasteful art, an air like it had never known a fight. But the inside? The air had changed. The room smelled of disinfectant and citrus, because even lies try to smell clean. Ethan's note had been simple. Meet in the old tasting room at sundown. Come alone. He said enough to know that he wanted a spectacle. I gave him one. I walked in with Harper on my arm like we were the couple everyone wanted to see. Reporters still circulated at the property's edge, but tonight there was a different kind of audience. Ethan's ghosts, his allies, and that smug certainty he'd cultivated for decades. He stood by the window when we walked in, silhouetted at dusk, a glass of something amber in his hand. He turned slowly when I spoke my name, and the room seemed to lean in. "Vanessa," he said, like he'd been waiting his whole life to say it again. "You look like hell." "You look tired of pretending," I shot back. He smiled, small and practiced. "I didn't think you'd come." "You forgot one thing. Being dead makes people curious." His laugh was soft. Curiosity killed, did it not? "Only when it stops asking questions." I took a step closer. The air between us was thin and electric. "You left me a note calling this the last deal. I prefer to call it closure." He tilted his head. "You think you can close me?" "I know you can expose you." I held up a phone. Mara's piece had blown like napalm through every paper and feed. Still trending, still hot. Your trail of shells, your transfers, Project Lazarus, it's all out there. And now your friends will want distance. Ethan's face didn't change. He looked like a man watching an eclipse. Fascinated, a little bored. "You had help," he said. "You knew how to push the right nerves." "I had the truth. You had a PR team." "You always did dramatics, Vanessa." That was the thing about him. He tried to minimize everything that threatened his control by making it sound small, a quirk. He reached for the glass on the console, took a sip, and set it down as if nothing could touch him. Harper straightened beside me like a warning. "Why did you do it? Why fake your death? Build a lab to make yourself a new life? Why drag me into—" He laughed, then stopped himself. "Because the world moves on. Bodies are liabilities. Ideas aren't. I wanted an exit strategy, V. You know how investors get shaky when mortality gets involved. I built myself a policy." "You built a prison for the people you love." My voice was low, and I remembered how once I'd believed every word he said. His eyes softened for a millisecond. There was the man I'd loved, like a crack in glass, but then it slammed shut. "You could have been with me. You helped, even if you don't remember. Don't gaslight me. I don't forget what you did." I felt something in me harden, the part that had been cracked open by grief and then made whole by fury. "This ends tonight. One of two things happens. You walk away and face justice, or you try to run and I make sure you never find peace." He pushed off the window frame and walked toward me slow, all predator elegance. "You think you can choose the ending?" "I already chose it. You made the choices for me." Harper's hand tightened on my elbow. We'd both played our parts. Part of me worried we'd both underestimated how much he'd prepared for betrayal. Ethan smiled like someone about to deliver a punchline. "You always thought you were the one in control, V. But control is a funny thing." Outside, the twilight deepened. An insect buzzed near a lamp. The world kept folding into night. It started slow. Small taunts, the kind that used to be jokes in our better days. He'd learned all my patterns. He knew which buttons to press. He dropped hints of things I didn't want to relive. Our first wedding song, the name of the park where we'd once fought over a dog. The room felt smaller with every memory he mentioned. Then he pulled something unexpected, a tablet with footage. It started with me, years ago, in a hospital bed, disoriented, consenting forms being pushed at me, numbers, signatures, my name. The footage was old, clinical, heartless. He watched my face while the images played. He told you wouldn't remember. Memory's a funny thing, selective by design. I felt bile rise. You forged me. No, he shrugged. I optimized you. Then Harper spoke, voice sharp as a blade. So what? You set this up. You get to explain once. But that's not justice, Ethan. Justice is consequence. He nodded slowly, as if considering a chess move. Consequences are for people who can't adapt. He set the tablet down. But here's the point. You want to expose me, and I respect that. I always enjoyed a duel with flair. So here's my offer. You want the truth to be clean? Meet me in the old wine cellar, midnight. One conversation, we end it there. If you walk away satisfied, I walk away. If you still want the world to burn, then we open everything in the morning. You will tear me apart. It was a trap dressed as a treaty. He wanted to isolate me to control the optics. He wanted to make the last act about him. You think I'd meet you alone again? I know you would. You always loved the theater. You know what I'll do, Vanessa. I'll give you the conversation, but I won't let you leave without deciding. I almost laughed at his arrogance. The wine cellar was old, a stone maw under the estate where we used to hide from storms and lovers. He was trying to make the final scene romantic. I saw the script beneath. I walked down alone. Harper and Brody watched me go, eyes a mixture of fear and trust. I took the steps slow, letting my heels echo, and the smell of oak and earth filled me. When I reached the cellar, it was lit with a single bulb. He sat at a table like a king, posture relaxed, a bottle between us, 2 glasses. His smile was a gauze of charm. Sit, V. Let's get this over with. I sat. The silence tasted like metal. Why'd you pick the vineyard? Because everything started here. It's poetic. Plus, the acoustics are good. He tapped the bottle. You ever think about what we were before the money? Sometimes. I think about how naive I was. I watched him. He wanted confession. He wanted me raw. He set a file on the table. This is the truth. Every move, every transfer, every lab record. I made mistakes, I made choices, but I also saved myself. I created a way to continue. If you want justice, you know where to point your finger. I leaned forward. Tell me where he is. He? He said, eyes flickering. There isn't a he to point at. There's systems that outlast us. But the man you loved, maybe he's in a place where the sun doesn't poke him in the morning. Maybe he's in a bed with a new name. I felt something crack open. Why did you take my body as the template? Why did you make a me? He looked at me like a tired teacher. You were perfect for the optics. Familiarity sells trust. Also, you were compliant, loving, forgiving. I didn't want to wake up one day and have the world know I was just flesh. I wanted continuity. My hands began to tremble. Continuity? That's not living, Ethan. That's theft. Call it evolution. Call it cowardice. He leaned in, and the bulb above him made his face a half mask. But here's the real thing, Vanessa. You're not a victim here if you can't remember signing. Memory can be manufactured, but signatures are not. You authorized files. You were a part of the design. If you want to act wounded, that's your right. I'm not denying you the stage. But the law sees signatures. I felt cold all over. He was right. On paper, I was complicit. The infection was legalese, consent forms buried in jargon. So this is the choice, I asked, voice a whisper. You give me the man, or I destroy you. He could give me the man, but you won't like the person you get. You think you're punishing me, Vanessa, but you're punishing someone else. I realized then what he wanted. A moral lodge where everyone is damaged, where nothing is neat. He wanted punishment to be messy, to make me the executioner who would never feel clean again. I never wanted to be the one to pull your plug, Ethan, but you made me decide. Outside, the night tightened like a fist. My phone buzzed. Mara. Her message was 3 words. They bought it. What? I hissed under my breath. Your story. Some outlets pick the "you were complicit" angle. The public loves a scandal with a villain. The law will follow social outrage. I felt my reflection in the bottle, a face split into two. I thought of years of love tangled with lust for power, of nights I'd held him while he whispered plans about futures that sounded like empires. Ethan reached out and touched my hand like we were signing a truce. He'd give me an hour to decide. Go, think. If in 60 minutes you walk away, we bury it. If you don't, we unleash the files and watch the world burn. I left the cellar and walked back up the stone steps into the thin air. Harper and Brody were waiting, faces unreadable. I had an hour, 60 minutes, to decide whether to unmake the man I once loved or to ruin him utterly and live with the cost. I sat in my car and rolled down the windows. The valley smelled like crushed grapes and old money. My hands clasped the steering wheel. I thought of every small kindness he ever showed, the way he made me laugh when the world seemed to tilt. I thought of the way he betrayed me with a surgeon's precision, and of the people who had no power in his games. The lab techs, the donors, the women he used like props. I thought of myself, a woman who had been both target and accomplice.
The vineyard looked nothing like I remembered. The air was colder, sharper, like it remembered what I didn't. As I drove up the dirt road, the vines whispered in the wind, twisting like nerves under skin. I parked by the old fountain, the one Ethan had built for show. Water still flowed, but red light from the setting sun made it look like blood. Fitting. Brody had begged me not to come alone, but this had to end with just us, Ethan and me. Every story that started with love deserved to end in truth. I stepped out, heels crunching the gravel, my reflection rippling in the fountain. That's when I saw him, Ethan, standing by the tasting room door, wearing that same smug grin he used when he thought he had already won. He looked alive, too alive. "You made it," he said, voice smooth, mocking. "Guess you can't resist a good finale. You called it a deal. What's your offer?" He smirked. "The truth? You wouldn't know truth if it kissed you goodbye." He laughed softly. "Still sharp, still stubborn. That's what I loved about you, V. You never asked how the magic worked, you just enjoyed the show." "Cut the performance," I said. "Why bring me here?" He stepped closer, eyes burning with that old intensity that could melt logic into lust. "Because for once, I want you to see what you helped create." He motioned toward the old barrel room, now full of glass pods glowing faint blue. Inside each, human figures. Not quite alive, not quite gone. My stomach twisted. "What the hell is this?" "Legacy," he said proudly. "Project Lazarus was never about me escaping death. It was about continuity. I can live forever, through anyone, everyone. And you're part of it. Your neural patterns, your empathy, they're the key. You used me. I loved you. There's a difference." Bullshit. I circled him, my heart pounding. "You loved control. You loved playing God." He smiled. "And you loved being my believer." "Not anymore." I pulled out my phone. "Every word you just said, it's streaming live." His smirk vanished. "What?" "Congratulations, Ethan. You just confessed to every damn thing on camera." He lunged forward, but I stepped back. "Don't. You're already a dead man walking. You think the world cares? They'll still worship me. Not after tonight." I gestured around us. "The feeds, the files, the backups, it's all gone public. You don't control the story anymore." His jaw clenched. "You really think you can erase me?" "No," I said softly, "but I can end your sequel." Suddenly, a voice echoed behind us. Harper's. "She doesn't have to." She stepped into view, gun in hand, shaking but determined. "I'm ending this myself." Ethan turned, furious. "Put that down. Harper, you're not built for this." "You said that about everything I ever did," she spat. "And yet here we are." "Harper," I said carefully, We can expose him. We don't need blood. Her eyes were glassy. You don't get it, Vanessa. He killed everything I had left.
You never had anything worth saving. That broke her. The gun went off. Once, twice, silence. Ethan fell, eyes wide with disbelief. Blood spread across his shirt like spilled wine. Harper stood frozen, the weapon clattering to the floor. I rushed to her, grabbed her shaking hands. "Hey, look at me. It's over." She blinked, tears cutting down her face. "No, it's not. It never is." She collapsed against me, whispering, "He said he made backups, copies of himself. What if he comes back?" "Then I'll be ready." Police sirens echoed faintly in the distance. Brody must have triggered the alert. Harper was taken into custody quietly, her eyes hollow, but her lips formed one word as she passed me. Finally. I stayed behind until they covered Ethan's body. The man who once swore he'd live forever looked small now. Just human, just gone. Weeks passed. Investigations tore through the Calloway empire like wildfire. Every fake account, every lab record, every secret surfaced. The media called it the immortality scam of the century. I didn't speak publicly again. I didn't need to. The truth had already spoken for me. Brody stayed close, helping me rebuild the fragments of my life. We met one night on the same balcony where Ethan and I used to toast to our success. The sky was quiet, for once. "So," Brody said, sipping his beer, "what now? Write a book? Start a revenge podcast?" I laughed softly. "Nah, I'm done performing." He smiled. "You sure? Feels like the world could use a few more women like you burning down the old systems." "Maybe. But right now, I just want to breathe." He raised his bottle. "To breathing." "Two endings that finally end," I said. But peace never lasts long when you've danced with devils. One morning, a package arrived at my door. No return address. Inside, a flash drive. I plugged it in, heart pounding. A single video file played. Ethan's face appeared on the screen. Or something that looked like him. "Hello, Vanessa," it said, voice digitally glitched but recognizable. "If you're seeing this, congratulations. You won the battle. But you should know by now, I never play for just one round." The screen flickered. Rows of data, neural maps, and timestamps appeared, all recent. "You didn't kill me, V. You just killed version 3. The video ended. My hands trembled. Brody walked in, saw my face. "What is it?" "He left a backup," I whispered. "He always leaves a backup." Brody frowned. "You want me to trace it?" "No," I said, a slow smile forming. "Let him think he's ahead. This time, we play his game better than he ever did." He raised an eyebrow. "You sound dangerous, V." I learned from the best. As night fell, I poured myself a glass of wine, the same Cabernet we drank the night before everything fell apart. I stood by the window, city lights blinking below, the taste sharp and familiar. Somewhere in some digital corner of the world, Ethan Calloway's ghost was stirring. But this time, I wasn't afraid. I was ready. Because some men build empires to cheat death, and some women learn how to bury them twice.
If this story touched your heart or made you feel every twist of pain and justice, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Your support means everything and keeps these emotions alive on screen. And before you go, leave your valuable thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how this